How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be doing another TikTok compilation reaction. How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you? So these are pretty fun. I've been enjoying doing these the last few times that I've been doing them. So you'll be able to find the links to the original video in the description section down there. So go check that out. The original channel is called like TikTok News. So make sure you go check it out. And we're going to jump right into it. How can you tell if somebody's an American without them telling you? This is going to be funny. I can already tell.
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
So I'm American, but I studied abroad in London during college, and we had like some orientation to like tell us about, what it was like studying abroad. And they said, you have to do things because people will notice that you're American. There are things that Americans do that they don't do in England, like smile at strangers on the sidewalk. And I thought, what kind of psychopath smiles at a stranger on the sidewalk? Like, why are you even telling me this? Is super weird. Fast forward, I get to London. I'm excited.
It's more of just a polite kind of like, hey, how you doing? I don't know if it's just like a full-on smile though.
I go for a walk around my neighborhood, and people keep looking at me weird. I'm like, God, these guys are kind of assholes. And then I realize I'm the psychopath smiling at strangers on the sidewalk.
Can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
Well, Americans, or at least the most of them, they can't drive a manual. And it's
Not me. I can drive a manual for sure.
not just that, but when they find out that anyone in the world can drive one, they look at you like you're totally insane. Now, I don't know about America, but at least in most countries in Europe, you don't get a driver license if you can drive a manual. That's like basic stuff for us.
Okay, yeah, so you don't have to have a license, or I mean, you don't have to be able to drive a manual to get a license. But there's plenty of people who drive them. It's not as common though, for sure.
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
So I'm actually American, but I lived overseas for like 10 plus years. I've lived in Africa and Europe, and I've been pretty much everywhere. So let me tell you how I can tell if you're an American tourist or not. One of the biggest definers is how you dress. Any man I see that's wearing cargo shorts, I immediately know is American. Also, footwear tends to be a pretty big identifier.
Cargo shorts, they're pretty comfortable. I don't wear much, but I've wore cargo shorts before. Like the khaki ones, not the camouflage print ones.
American sneakers are pretty ugly, and lots of people don't really wear sandals overseas. Also, depending on where you are, your height can be a huge identifier.
I don't wear like sneakers, like the American sneakers. I wear like Converse All-Star or like skateboard type shoes.
In the Netherlands for 4 years, and the Dutch are a very tall people. So anyone that was 6 foot or shorter, I could kind of tell. Also,
I'm 6'4". I'm actually above average tallness, even by Dutch standards, I believe, or around the same tallness, I believe. 193 in metric or whatever.
the very obvious one is American. Kind of tell. Also, the very obvious one is Americans tend to be louder than other people. You pretty much make it known whether you want to or not because Americans have such loud voices. Also, at least
I try not to be like that. I try not to stand out in public too much.
in Europe, Americans tend to dress more for comfort than style. Almost 100% of my fashion sense nowadays is because I lived in Europe. Europeans dress up just to go to the grocery store.
For you, how can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
Extremely white.
Sorry about the volume, guys. I've been trying to adjust it because all these clips, they don't have the volume levels right. So I'm trying to do it and keep it in check for you guys.
Telling you they're American.
Extremely white and functional trainers or sneakers and baseball caps.
Not I.
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
I was serving a table of Americans once, and they were driving down from Dublin on a motorway, and they asked us why there was a castle in the middle of the motorway and why we didn't just knock it down to put the motorway through it. The thousands-year-old castle, sure.
Just knock it down. Knock it down, guys.
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
I can answer this question. I live in Paris currently, and I noticed that us Americans are very loud and excitable. So if you're like in the public touristy areas and especially on the metro and see a very loud group of people, 9 times out of 10, they're Americans.
I don't like the loudness so much.
My current theory on why that is because Americans have a bigger personal space bubble than Europeans, so we have to like yell to get the point across. Also, I don't know if this is exclusively Americans, but we wear a lot of graphic tees with branding on it, and we always get hot and take our coats off. And for some reason, the French never get hot. It could be 75 degrees, and they will wear coats and scarves, and I don't know what witchcraft that is. It must be blood magic, because, like, they're fine. They're not breaking a sweat.
They're like, no, guys, we dress this way. We're going to suffer through it. I'm not going to take it off. I'm going to push through.
And those, like, mark us as great targets for grifters and scam artists.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that part, guys. Don't look American if you're not trying to get robbed.
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
Usually it's the clothing. It's either you can see them wearing brands that are not readily available here in Germany or in Europe, or it's certain style, like an athleisure wear that's just not very common here. Like even to go to the supermarket, people will still throw on a pair of jeans and a sweater, even if it's their messiest look. They'll still kind of look kind of put together, whereas you'll see someone.
That's how I try to be. I try not to go out in my pajamas or anything.
Literally shopping in their slippers.
Not me.
And you know that person's an American.
Not I.
People here tend to, kind of dress up even to go shopping. Also,
I feel like I'm like that though. Like I got to make sure I match. I got to have my shirt on. Even if I'm just going down to the grocery store.
Volume. And I myself can be heard from at least 200 feet away when I speak. Yeah.
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
So a little story time. So I used to be a waiter at a 4-star hotel near a Formula 1 circuit, and like every so often, because of the circuit, we had loads of people coming from different countries, so Japan, America, Canada, all that sort of stuff. Had some Americans come in and sit on my table. Their food was included, but their drinks were not, so they were paying for their drinks. I could tell they were American/Canadian. I couldn't tell by the full accent, but I could tell they were American as soon as they tipped, because they tipped a considerable amount compared to their actual bill price, and it was quite a bit of a shock on the actual tipping culture in America.
Question for you. How can you...
Yeah, they don't do it like that in Europe because you don't have to rely on the customer to pay for your bills over there. The employer just does it in Europe. It's crazy, right? Yeah, I know. Service industry here kind of sucks.
Can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
Is Hitler still your president?
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
If I ask them where they're from and they start to reply with percentages, they're American.
With percentages, where would you be at anywhere where they would be replying with percentages, though? Percentages, like they're getting a math equation out? I don't get that one. I don't know.
If I tell them I'm Italian and they say they're Italian too because their great-grandpa was an immigrant, they're American.
I get it. Yeah, I see. It doesn't mean you're Italian, though. It just means you have Italian ancestry. That is all.
If they say stuff along the lines, oh, I have pizza every Saturday night, so we are the same, they're American. If they start to speak in like a mafia boss accent, like the ones from the movies, they're American.
Maybe over in like Brooklyn or like New York or something, but like not in the Midwest.
If they say I went to Europe once, they're American, because they're the only ones who don't know Europe is not just one country. If they don't understand the time on my phone, they're American.
Yeah, that's true, because you guys do the whole 24 hours a day. We do 12, and then we reset it to another 12, so we have the AM and the PM. Yeah. Interesting.
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
Oh my god, here we go. Obnoxiously loud in public transportation. Will talk slowly to you even though you speak perfect English. Always wearing their collared sweatshirts and a baseball cap.
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
Sorry, the audio levels are all over the place, guys. I'm down here trying to keep it in check for you. Hopefully it's coming through good.
Now, that is indeed a good question, because as a European and a Dane, we kind of figure it out. Because as indeed a good...
Without them telling you they're American.
Now, that is indeed a good question, because as a European and a Dane, we kind of figure it out quite easily. Here are some of the following statements or comments that I've got or heard. Hej, hvad kan jeg gøre for dig i dag? I'm sorry, I don't speak German. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were a tourist. What can I get for you today? Oh my god, like your accent, Oh my god, your accent. I cannot believe that you guys in Denmark are so nice, because I thought you were all communists, you know, like the Russians. Excuse me, hey? Yeah, what can I get for you? Could you please translate that on the board, because I don't understand that. Sure thing, it says cappuccino, but that is not a Danish coffee, like, you know, I want a Danish coffee. You mean filterkaffe? Yeah, that one. That is the Danish coffee, right?
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
I wanted to tell a story to answer this question. I used to work at a National Historic Site, and we get a lot of visitors from all over the world. And since this is Canada, whenever you'd interact with a visitor, you'd say hello, bonjour, you know, giving them the choice to speak English or French. Anyway, this guy comes in, and he's got a cowboy hat on, a buttoned-up shirt that's tucked into his jeans, he has leather boots, and to top it all off, his belt has American dollar bills printed on it. So me and my coworkers did our thing. We said, oh, hello, bonjour. And instead of just saying hi and continuing on with things, he stopped in his tracks, looked at us, and said, we don't speak that funny language. Didn't clarify which language he was talking about, but I think it was French. So yeah, that's how I could tell he was American.
You tell someone
Yeah, but you're Canadian though. You're like almost American yourself.
is an American without them telling you they're American.
One of the things I learned when I did my study abroad in Ireland is that the way you can tell American is American without having to hear them speak or anything is right here. Tennis shoes. Typically white tennis shoes. I don't own any white tennis shoes, but
I don't like white shoes. I don't wear tennis shoes or like those kind of sports shoes in general. Again, I wear like skateboard shoes or like Converse. Yeah. So I don't know for sure if that's a European style or not, but I don't know.
only Americans will wear tennis shoes nonstop. Most people in Europe wear like Doc Martens or like a dress shoe that's still really comfortable. But tennis shoes, when they're not at the actual gym, nope.
I wear these.
You stand out as an American.
Lately.
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
They ask you some stupid questions, like, why is everything closed on Sunday in Germany? Or why do you call soccer football? Or even, why is your coffee so yellow and...
They called it that first, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure we're the ones that come across or come along the way and like start changing things up.
Sparkling.
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
Everything. Absolutely everything. Like their face.
Everything.
Do you know what I mean? How are you? Shut up.
How can you tell someone is an American without them telling you they're American?
It's actually kind of weird because we can spot you from the distance, and I'm not joking. Like, you have this aura, this glow, you glow American. American tourists are usually very loud, very excited, and in a party mode, and very outgoing. I'm from Germany, so...
To be fair, though, when they're vacationing and they're drinking and they're not, working and they're having a fun time somewhere else, they're probably a little louder than normal. So they're not always like that here, most of the time. I mean, they are, but not quite to that extent, I guess.
Most of the time, American tourists are very drunk because you always want to try the German beer, which is great. These are all great things, but German people are usually, I'm not, but German people are usually very down to earth, like low-key, in their own little bubble, don't want to talk to strangers mode, and you're like, I want to be in your bubble, let me...
Yeah, I'm the same way. I try to be down to earth, low-key. Oh yeah, I would fit in Europe for sure.
in your bubble, which is great, but it can be annoying. But I
Yeah, it
like
can.
American tourists, like especially on pub crawls, drinking beers with them. It's very awesome meeting them, talking to them. Americans are at the Oktoberfest. Who are not?
What is the weirdest perverse interest an ex of yours
All right,
has
guys.
had?
That was, how can you tell if somebody's an American without them telling you? Do you have any more to add to that? What do you think about it? Let me see. Let me know down below. Have a super fun, awesome day. Take care. All right. Later.